Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Fang724 from the Am I the Arsehole here subreddit and says, Am I the arsehole for telling my sister's fiance about her loyalty test? Using an alt because my friends use Reddit and not sure if I want to open this stuff up to those in my life, as things haven't settled between everyone yet. I, 26 female, have a younger sister, Lily, 24 female, who's been with her fiance, Mark, 28 male, for 3 years. They've always seemed really happy together and they're planning to get married next summer. Lily and I have always been close, but she can get pretty intense and a bit paranoid when it comes to relationships. A few weeks ago, Lily told me about this plan she had. She wanted to test Mark's loyalty by having her friend Sarah flirt with him at a party to see how he'd react. I told her it was a terrible idea and that she should just trust him, but she was dead set on it. She said she needed to be sure Mark wouldn't cheat on her once they are married. So last weekend at a party, Sarah went ahead with the plan. According to Lily, Mark was nice but didn't flirt back and even mentioned he was engaged. But Lily was still upset because she felt he didn't shut Sarah down forcefully enough. I thought this whole thing was really unfair to Mark. He had no idea he was being tested and I felt bad for him. So I ended up telling him what Lily did. He was shocked and hurt but thanked me for being honest with him. Now Lily is absolutely furious with me. She says I betrayed her and ruined her relationship. She won't talk to me, and she's saying I overstepped big time. Our parents are split on this. Mum thinks I did the right thing, but Dad thinks I should have stayed out of it. Mark is now reconsidering the engagement, and Lily has cut me off completely. I'm feeling really torn and guilty. I don't know if I did the right thing by telling Mark, or if I should have just stayed out of it. Am I the arsehole? And if I am, how do I fix this? Should I try to repair my relationship with Lily? Should I reach out to Mark again or give him space? Any advice would be really appreciated. I'm so lost right now. I'm trying to picture the scene at this party where he turned her down, where Mark didn't flirt back and even mentioned that he was engaged. But Lily was still upset because she felt he didn't shut Sarah down forcefully enough. I mean, what did she want Mark to do in this situation? Cause a huge scene? Shout at her? And if he did, surely then all of this loyalty test would have come out anyway. And we've seen various versions of these loyalty tests within these stories and they never work out. The truth always comes out and it always damages the relationship. You know, I don't think you ruined their relationship. I think she ruined her own relationship by doing this stupid shit in the first place. But Angry says your sister isn't mature enough for marriage and is looking for reasons to cause drama. Either she's bored or she cheated and came close to cheating and is projecting her guilt onto the man. Your dad is also an idiot. Think about it like this. She gave him a test, he passed with flying colors, and she's still mad he didn't do well enough somehow. He passed a test she created and roped her equally terrible friend into. And she's mad at the result, even though it's the one she said she wanted. Your sister needs help, not a husband. RNG says not the arsehole. One of my favorite sayings is, if the truth causes your character to be called into question, the problem is not with the truth, it's with your character. You didn't ruin a relationship, a stupid loyalty test did. You just told the truth. Alarming reply says you're both adults, you're both free to make your own choices and to have your own thoughts and feelings. Lily made her choice. You believe she made a bad decision. I agree with you. Lily does not have to agree with you. Lily is responsible for her own actions. She made her choice and she owns the consequences of her own decisions and actions. Let her be pissed off. Your sister is not mature enough to be married. At this point, you should stay away from this situation. Let Lily and Mark figure out their relationship, not the arsehole. ETA, it appears both you and Mark failed at the loyalty test according to Lily's definition. Perhaps you should ask your sister what exactly loyalty means to her. I don't think she has a good understanding of the meaning. If she did, she would not have put either one of you in this situation. And Caitlin's corpse says in quotes, according to Lily, Mark was nice but didn't flirt back and even mentioned he was engaged. But Lily was still upset because she felt he didn't shut Sarah down forcefully enough. and then says, what did she expect? Did she want Mark to punch her friend in the face or something? She did this stupid fucking test and wasn't happy with the way he turned her friend down. Seriously, your sister is not ready to get married. I don't blame you for telling Mark, honestly, because your sister's actions were foolish and childish. She can say you ruined their engagement all day long, but at the end of the day, she is the one who ruined it by being a childish dipshit. Not the arsehole. People who play games like this with their partners can get bent. So OP comes in with her update and says, hey everyone, I wanted to update you since it's been a month since everything went down. First off, thanks to everyone who shared their thoughts and advice. It helped a lot to hear different perspectives in that most people seem to agree I did the morally right thing, which lifted a huge weight off my chest. After my posts, things were really tense. Lily refused to talk to me and there was a huge divide in our family since we're the only two kids my parents have now. Mark reached out to say thanks, but I could tell he needed space, so I gave it to him. Me trying to be a source of comfort for him after everything went down didn't seem right, and I didn't want any worse assumptions to start. About 2 weeks in, Lily reached out and asked to meet up. I was surprised, but eventually we met up, and while she was still upset, and despite how pissed off she was at the beginning, she realized her actions were over the top. She told me she's going to see a therapist to work on her insecurities. It was an emotional talk and we both cried. We agreed to try and slowly mend things, starting with meeting up at our parents' house more often, but it's going to take time. Mark took a break from Lily to process everything. They put their wedding plans on hold, which was hard for both of them. About a week ago, he decided he wanted to try and work things out, agreeing to attend couples therapy with her too. It's not easy, but they're committed to trying, and I guess I was so guilty at the start because it was obvious despite everything he was crazy in love with her, and I didn't want to break that. During this time, I've been working on myself too. I've realized how much I value honesty and integrity in relationships, and I'm trying to be more supportive without overstepping. It's a learning process, but I'm trying. Lily and I aren't back to where we were, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but we can keep trying. We've had a good few talks and laughed a little like we used to. Thanks again to everyone who offered advice and support. It's been a tough month, but I'm happier now. I'll keep you posted if anything major changes. Take care, and thanks again. And I think it's fair to say after this one, there was a mix of comments. A lot of people saying, this is a positive ending, communication winning the day. Other people saying that Mark just needs to run. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Do you agree that it is a happy ending and communication does win the day, or something else? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story does have an update as well. It's from Reddy405 from Am I the Arsehole, and says, am I the arsehole for feeling like my eldest daughter should be treated the same as my real children? When my male 45 daughter, female 13, was born, I immediately felt that something was obviously amiss. She was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, which was extremely unlikely for a child of myself and my ex-wife, female 39. I am very Mediterranean and have olive skin, dark eyes and dark hair. My wife has brown eyes and relatively dark brown hair. Her skin is barely lighter than mine. The baby also clearly bore no resemblance to me or anyone in my family at all. I'd been having misgivings about my ex too, and she seemed too quick to express surprise and make excuses. Still though, I didn't want to throw away my marriage over what could have been my own misunderstanding of genetics, and so I signed the birth certificate. I instantly knew that I was going to have a paternity test done, but something else surprised me. When I brought our little girl home, I still fell in love with her. It felt just like bringing my son, male 14, home, and looking at her, I still just saw her as an innocent, beautiful little baby, and we bonded. The paternity test came back negative, as I suspected it would, and I decided that our marriage was over. I still loved our little girl though. My then wife did everything that she could to drag out the divorce and refused to separate or move out. My daughter's biological father, every bit as blonde and blue-eyed as I suspected, turned out to want nothing to do with her or my ex. He was already married with his own family, and his only focus was preventing the situation from blowing back on himself too much. My ex went totally nuts when both I and her affair partner rejected her, and she made some very unfortunate decisions. To make a long story short, she ended up with prison time for crimes including identity theft, assault with a deadly weapon, and grand theft auto, and she stole credit cards and forged documents for both of us. And when she stole her affair partner's car and tried to run him over with it, I ended up with custody of our kids, with the affair partner never even attempting to establish any kind of paternity rights. I didn't want to press the issue myself, as I couldn't deny that I had bonded with this child, even knowing that she wasn't my real daughter. I'd been shunning my ex-wife as best as I could and trying to move on with life after she was finally out of the house. It wasn't long before I got together with and married my current wife, female 34, and we've since had another 2 children, male 10, female 8. My eldest daughter is a total daddy's girl, and we have a wonderful relationship. She always feels loved, and I treat her the same as my other kids, even though she obviously stands out. My family accepts her too, or at least that's what I thought. I work for my father's company, and the other day we were out talking about the future and his will. He was talking about what money and assets, etc. he wanted to leave whom, including his grandchildren, and I noticed that my older daughter had been left out. I mentioned it to him, and he said, "It's nice what you've done for daughter's name, but you have real children, and obviously they should come first." I interrupted him and I told him she is my real daughter and that I thought she should be treated equally. He just paused and looked at me for a moment and he said, "I guess you feel how you feel." Before he noticed I was still about to argue with him, he shrugged and moved the conversation onto things about work and my siblings. I was too polite to try and force the matter at the time, but it sort of stuck with me. My father isn't the type of man to harp on a point, and I'm certain that he's content to have his peace and would let the matter drop. He could suddenly tell what had upset me, so I doubt he'd bring it up again. Frankly, he sort of raised me the same way. At the time I was shocked because he always seemed to accept my daughter as part of the family. He buys her gifts for her birthday and for Christmas. He makes her feel welcome. But thinking about it, he really is just a kind, polite and generous man in a lot of ways. He will and has bought Christmas gifts for high school friends or significant others, if he knew they were coming, and the same for other gift-giving occasions. He's generally very hospitable to anyone his friends or family bring around. So I thought that maybe it was just that, and I misinterpreted. My wife is Asian, and so my eldest daughter always stands out. She's thin and blonde and blue-eyed, unlike pretty much anyone else in my family, and she's taller than any other girl, or even most of the other women really. So I'm aware that she might look like the neighbor's kid visiting or something. My wife loves her and I know that she 100% accepts her as one of our kids, and she's been a great mum/stepmom. I talk to my own mother though, and while she's definitely closer to my daughter than my father is, they interact a lot more, and she includes my daughter with the other kids and other girls in the family traditions and activities. I got a little bit of the same vibe from her. She was much more diplomatic, but it seems that she may also sort of consider my daughter to be a sort of guest or unfortunate orphan I'm hosting or something like that. She pointed out that I can make my own will however I want. My daughter knows that she isn't biologically mine. That would have been hard to hide, even if we'd really had the opportunity. She doesn't want anything to do with either of her bio parents though. She's seen her bio dad perhaps a handful of times in her entire life, and I don't even think he can remember her middle name. He seems to have pretty successfully kept his family together and his wife from leaving him, but he definitely doesn't want any involvement. My ex-wife continued to spiral for a long time, and she lives in another state with another man, and her own family at this point. She mercifully rarely makes contact. I've never really tried to go after either of them for the money. I don't need it, and it's not a pot I want to stir. My siblings are mostly supportive, if a little bit mixed on the issue. Some of them say that they could never raise a child of a partner's affair, but all of them say that they love and accept their niece. I just can't get over the way that I feel distant and upset about what my father said though. He's an extremely kind and generous man, and he's always taken care of his family. He's given me opportunities and a lifestyle that I could have never have achieved without him. I love him and I look up to him. Maybe that's why I sort of feel, betrayed. It feels wrong that she's the only one of his grandchildren to be left out of his will. Apparently because he doesn't consider her a real grandchild. Intellectually I can accept that he's technically correct, but it feels wrong. She is my daughter. Am I wrong though? Am I just being entitled and unreasonable here? Am I the arsehole? Jacoby says, I get why members of your family might consider you foolish for raising the result of your ex-wife's affair. But honestly, it speaks well of your character that you treat her as your own. I wonder if your parents would be similarly non-accepting if you had adopted a child, because practically, that is what happened. I wish you and your family the best, not the arsehole. Law Fox says, I think OP should ask his parents that, if I had adopted a child, would you feel this way about that child? Okay, because that's what I did. I put my name on her birth certificate and raised her knowing she wasn't biologically mine. I adopted her, and she's my daughter. Liv Weston says, I agree, and to be honest, she was born into your family and you have claimed her as your own child. Same as if you'd adopted her or brought her into the world through birth. That's very important to me, and to be honest, anybody that didn't want to accept that and wanted to treat that child differently from my other kids would not be someone I'd want to spend much time with any of my kids. Not the arsehole. I think you're an amazing dad. And around 5 days or so later, OP comes in with an update and says just a small update. Thanks for the comments and wishes. It really put a lot of things into perspective and it confirmed to me that I needed to say something. Some people seem surprised at the way I let my daughter's bio parents off the hook, so to speak. The main reason I've never tried to go after my ex or affair partner for child support is that my daughter is more important than money. I'm not struggling at all, and I have the support I need. More importantly though, I have my daughter. Even though the affair partner didn't apparently want anything to do with her. My lawyer did mention way back in the day that either he or my wife, being our biological parents, could have a strong case for seeking custody. I know I'm biased, but her bio dad seems like a huge arsehole, and I know he doesn't care about her. I wouldn't put it past him to try and get custody just to duck out of paying child support though, if his hand was forced. And the idea of her having to go stay with him is just something I don't even want to think about. Kind of the same thing when her mum got out of prison. She seemed like she was very quick to go shack up with her new guy, and she seemed willing to let the matter lie. So I did the same. The fact that neither of them tried to get her, or in my ex's case, the way she hasn't even bothered to keep much contact with our son, either tells me more than everything I need to know about the kind of parents they are or will be. They only seem interested in their pre-existing / new families respectively. I wouldn't want to try to back them into trying to take custody. With my daughter being 13, it's possible that we sort of run out the clock on that matter. But it's still not drama we need or a risk worth taking. In better and more important news though, I talked with my dad. I met with my father for lunch, which was easy enough as he's around most days and we could sync up some time. I mentioned that I wanted to talk about my daughter not being in his will. I told him that even if it meant dividing what was being left to me and all my other kids, I felt it was really important for her to be included. I also mentioned, as I felt, and as a lot of people pointed out, that it would be devastating for her to find out that she'd been excluded after his death. My father agreed that that was a really good point, and he said that she's a lovely girl, that he does love her, and that he wouldn't want to add extra pain or bitterness to her life, especially at such a time. Also, it had gotten around to him that I'd been sort of polling my siblings a little bit, and I think my mum talked to him some, and he said, "This is obviously very important to you. You are my son. You can just change it. It's not so much money anyways." And he was right. The amounts of money being left to individual grandchildren aren't massive, but the gesture and the thought are what's most meaningful. Mostly everything is going to my mum, or us, his kids anyway. Really, there was no reason for me to expect him to have been stubborn or hard-hearted about any of this. It was just something that we needed to talk about. My father reiterated that everyone loves my daughter and that she'll always be family and always have a home. He has a gold bracelet that he has worn somewhat occasionally over the years, and he mentioned that my daughter thought it was pretty. When she was very little, she noticed it on his wrist and said that jewelry was for girls. He laughed and explained to her that sometimes boys wear jewelry too. She thought it was nice and he let her try it on, even though it was way too big for her wrist. She was a little toddler then. I didn't know about that moment between them, and I thought it was really sweet that he remembered. He said that he was going to leave her the bracelet and a note that as far as money goes, she'd get the same share as the rest of my kids. So we had a nice lunch and we both felt better for it. Nothing too dramatic, but really the best way things could have gone. Thanks everyone for confirming that I wasn't being crazy and confirming that I needed to talk to my father and set things right. And my thoughts through that story, especially the first part, was like, yeah, what happens when all the other children are are being gifted something from their grandpa, and then this daughter is just on the sideline and is being basically told that she isn't the same as everyone else. That would sting, wouldn't it? I'm glad Opie and his father did have that conversation and came to some sort of resolution out of it. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What's your thoughts and opinions on the matter? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much, as always, for being involved. Truly, really do appreciate the time that you take out of your day to be involved. It means the world. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.